Okay, we're going to go on a trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco on the LiveWire One. The first step is to use a software program called a Better Route Planner. And what you do, it's actually got a setting for LiveWire. And what you do is you put in your place where you're starting, where you're ending, and what it does is it calculates this. These are all the chargers. And it calculates where you have to stop, how often you have to charge. We're gonna actually, it says 7, but there's actually 6 stops because it's showing a waypoint. Shows you how long it's gonna take you to get there. Like the first one, 63 miles, hour and 7 minutes, shows you how long you have to charge. It doesn't charge you all the way up and it doesn't run you all the way out. So you're always safe all the time. And you can see the trip is gonna take 7 hours, or if you can see it there, 7 hours and 52 minutes. There's going to be 3 hours and 13 minutes worth of charging. And it's not 7 charges, there's actually 6 because it's counting one as a waypoint. And it's 433 or 434 miles. So I'm getting started at about 9:30 right now. So I'm going to head out and make the trip. Okay, this is what I'm taking with me. I've got a backpack with just shirt, pants. I've got a couple power cords for my phone. This is a thermal jacket, toothbrush, toothpaste. I've got a bell helmet with a Senna. This is the jacket that I'm taking. It's a cycle gear. It's an armor jacket with back protector and zip out liner. And I'm also wearing Kevlar pants with pads in them, both in the hips and knees. And then special shoes that are also armored that have zippers on the side. You can take your feet out if you like get an accident, your feet swell, you can zip your feet out of the boots. And then I've got my Bellstar carbon helmet with Senna hookup for the Bluetooth. And then as part of the ride, we're also going to be reviewing the book, The Manager and the Monk, which is written by Jochen Zeitz, who is right now the president of Harley-Davidson. And this book was written and published before he had anything to do with Harley. And it tells all about the guy. And we're going to be talking about Mr. Zeitz. And one of the things I'll tell you right away is that he was born in Germany and that his hero growing up was John Wayne. See you soon. It's April 3rd at 9:30, leaving from Sierra Madre, California. Next stop is the beach in Malibu. All right, here's the first stop on my trip, Malibu Market, charging up. They have it's Sundays, they have cars and coffee here. They have like dozens and dozens of high-end sports cars and classic cars. The LiveWire building is right there. That actually has something in it even cooler than these cars. I did want to mention there is a Lamborghini Miura over here, which you don't see too often. That looks like an original one. Yeah, that's the one with the V12 and I think it's got 6 Weber carburetors. Beautiful car. Let's take a look. Yeah, this Miura. 6 Weber carburetors, V12. Great car. Not many of these are out now. Anyway, there's something even cooler than that in the LiveWire building. Let's see if we can take a look. There's the LiveWire. Gonna walk inside. There he is.
How you doing?
Good. Do you have the engine back here? Oh, they got it. Yeah. Okay, here it is, right back here. Look at this. This is the S2 engine that's going to be in the Del Mar. This is the battery pack here. Look at these fins. It's all very arty, very cool. They attach the swing arm right to the back of the battery box. What they do in the front here, and this is kind of interesting, you can see that they have bolts where they bolt on the front steering head, which basically means that they can, by bolting on different things on the front, they can change the motorcycle. So they can make a sport bike, a cruiser, whatever they want to do, an adventure bike out of the same motor. This is the electronics here, which basically means with one piece, you have all the electronics, the motor, the battery pack all in one piece. So this is how they're going to reduce cost and put out a variety of different motorcycles using the same parts. If you look back here, you can see the pulley. I can push on it there. Oh man, it's got a motor on it. This is the motor and the pulley. And then you can also see that it's liquid cooled. If it's like the LiveWire, the cooling is for the electronics and for the motor, and the battery pack is air cooled with the fins. So just putting that out there. Wow, I almost missed this. This is the Evan McGregor bike that did the electric motorcycle trip from, I think it was Argentina to Los Angeles, right? Up South America. Came the whole way. That's like, wow, still got the mud and the dirt on it. Yeah, this is from the movie The Long Way Up with Evan McGregor, who was, if you don't know who that is, that was the guy who was Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. Rode this bike up the whole way. Wow. Still got the original license plate on it from 2020 when he did the ride. Pretty cool. All right, I keep missing things. This brake system, master cylinder, is actually part of the motor, so that's all one piece. If you look over here, it's got the kickstand on it. And then if you look over here, the cooling is like on the regular LiveWire one, it has the radiator in the front and the cooling goes over the top of the motor in the back. This is all in one piece. The cooling is here with the electronics right next to it. So anyway, that's really cool. So the idea is that you use this motor to drop it into all kinds of different bikes, adventure bikes, sport bikes, cruisers, whatever. Okay, so I'm standing out in front of the LiveWire experience in Malibu Beach. Here is the book, The Manager and the Monk. At this spot where I'm standing right now, Jochen Zeitz, the guy who wrote it, actually signed it for me. So if you take a look here, see it says to Jack, Jochen Zeitz. This book was originally published in 2010, which is way before he was ever involved with Harley. It was actually written in 2008, and it's a story about Jochen and his life. It covers the period where he rescued Puma. So what happened is Puma was a sporting goods, or is a sporting goods company, and when he was 29 years old in the 1990s, Puma was going bankrupt. And they put him in at 29 years old, and he was the youngest ever executive to run a publicly held company. And he was 29, and within 15 years, the value of Puma had gone up 360 times. So, as an example, Zeitz is now president of Harley. He's been there since 2020. He's already turned the company around, and today, if you had $40 worth of Harley stock, which is one share, if the same thing happens to Harley that happened to Puma, that share would be worth $14,000 in 15 years. So you might think real seriously about what that means, because when you read the book, you find out that Zeitz is doing exactly the same thing at Harley that he did at Puma. In other words, he laid people off, cut salaries, cut products. Actually didn't lay people off, but cut salaries, cut products, did a bunch of stuff. It's all the same thing. So he's doing the same thing, or did the same thing at Harley that he did to Puma, and if the people at Harley had read the book, they would know that. But anyway, that's it for now. Okay, we're all charged up. Next stop is 77 miles away, Santa Barbara, California. Gonna go up the Coast Highway and the ocean on the way. Should be a great ride. Okay, here I am on PCH. We're going to be heading inland here pretty soon, but here's a nice picture of the beach and everything. I wanted to mention, I ran into this guy, Hal. He's with LiveWire. Saw him at the party last Thursday, and one of the things he said, that was just true, is he said that when you're in a car, you're like watching TV out the window, and when you're in a bike, you know, you're free, you're out there in the elements. But he said that when you get on an electric bike, you realize that when you're on a gas bike, you weren't really out in the elements. You're in a bubble of noise and vibration and smell, things like that. And that when you're on an electric bike, you're totally out there with nothing else to interrupt the experience. And I agree with that. I can hear the waves hitting the beach when I'm riding the bike. I can even hear the tires starting to squeal as I go around corners really fast. So it's a pretty amazing experience, and it is better than a gas bike, especially when you're in a national park or somewhere where there's a really cool environment. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, I just got to Soledad, California. I had a really rough time of it. After I turned in from the beach to go inland on the 101, it got really windy, like 30-40 mile an hour winds, and a lot of them were on the front of the bike, and as a result I started losing range faster than what I had planned on with a better route planner. So where I thought I would have some extra freeboard, I didn't have any, so I arrived like with 5 miles left when I was expecting 20. And then what I started doing is charging all the way to 100% to give myself more freeboard or more room to make the trip. And of course that took longer, so now I'm running late. But anyway, it's quite an adventure. I'm getting a little cold, but made it okay. Gonna go to the Denny's and rest for 45 minutes while this thing's charging, and be on the road again. Okay, I'm inside the Denny's in Soledad, California, waiting for the bike to charge. I wanted to get on with the book review because it's been such a crazy ride. I haven't had a chance to do it. But we're talking about Jochen Zeitz in Anselm Grum's The Manager and the Monk, a discourse in prayer, profit, and principles. As I mentioned before, the book was written in 2008, first published in German in 2010, I believe in English in 2012. And as you can see here, for Jack, Jochen Zeitz. So that's pretty cool. Now, what happened is he signed this for me at the LiveWire, the grand opening for the LiveWire experience in Malibu, California. Wanted to let you know kind of how that went. What happened is there was a big party, a lot of people running around. I had been invited along with my wife because I had bought a LiveWire. And when I got there, he was standing outside. I recognized him, and he was talking to Ewan McGregor, who of course is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and also the guy that did the long way up on the LiveWire. And they were talking, and McGregor even had his bike there, which was kind of cool. So I was kind of standing off at the side, waiting for them to finish. And when they finished, I walked up to Mr. Zeitz and introduced myself and told him that I had read his book, The Manager and the Monk, and I held out this book and I asked him if he would sign it. So he was very pleased to, and he asked my name, put in the book, and signed it. And I told him that I thought it was a really good book and that I learned a lot about it, but that I had been talking to some of the people at LiveWire, the top executives that were there at the party, and some other people, and no one had read the book. And he said that he doesn't really tell people that he's written a book or has a book, and he's never asked anybody to read it. So as far as I know, no one at Harley-Davidson or LiveWire has read the book, which is kind of interesting because the book is a discourse on prayer, profit, and principles. And you would think that if you're going to bring somebody in as chairman of the board of a company or to make them president of a company like Harley-Davidson, you would read the book first, but apparently no one has read the book. So I read the book. So I told him, I said, you know, that I knew a lot about him because the book is largely about his life. And I said he knew nothing about me because, you know, I'm just a guy with a LiveWire. But that I knew from reading the book that he liked direct information, direct talk. So I asked permission to give him my direct feedback on the book. And he said that he'd be very interested in hearing that. So I told him that if I worked at Harley-Davidson and had read the book, that I would be terrified. And he kind of put his head back and laughed and said, "Oh, that's not true." And that made me feel kind of taken back, because he's a very wealthy, successful man, president of Harley Davidson, $6 billion company, 5,000 employees, really has something on the ball. And my claim to fame is that I have a LiveWire. And so I felt intimidated that he would laugh at my feedback on the book. And in the book, he said some things that made me move forward. And one of them is that in the book, people laugh at him a lot. In other words, he says things and does things and people around him laugh. And when that happens, that makes him feel more motivated to move forward and prove that he's right. So I kept that in mind. I also knew from reading the book that he basically considered all men equal in the eyes of God, so that he thought that I was just as valuable, in my opinion, was valuable as his. And then the third thing is that when he was at Puma at 29 years old and they put him in as the president to turn the company around, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. One of the guys that helped him out as his marketing guy to help him turn the company around was a truck driver. And I'm a truck driver, I'm an over-the-road truck driver, so I thought, hey, he responds well to truck drivers. So I figure I'm gonna tell him what's going on anyway. So he's kind of laughing at me and taking it like a joke. And so I took the book, and he's a lot taller than me. I'm like 5'8", he's 6 something. So I take this book and I push it up in his face and I say, in this book, you said that your mission in life, above all else, your absolute mission in life is to make a safe and sustainable place for people to live. And so he stopped laughing right away. And then I said, that was over 10 years ago. I said, do you believe that now? Do you believe that the most important thing you have to do is create a safe and sustainable place? And he kind of paused and he said, my mission is to make a safe and sustainable place. And he almost said it, he said it softly, but he almost said it like a chant, like something that he had meditated on, and that was true. So I said, okay. I said, if that's true, then I think that you're being borderline dishonest. And the reason I said borderline dishonest and just not flat out dishonest is because he believes that honesty is very important, and it was even one of the key tenets of their of the Puma vision that he did when he was at Puma, was to be honest. So I didn't say you're dishonest, I said you're borderline dishonest. And I said, what's going on is when I look at the LiveWire website, the first thing it says right at the top is it says, quiet power or something like that. And I said, that's not really true, is it? And he said, well, not really. And I said, it's really about the LiveWire is a journey to a safe and sustainable place. And he said yes. So that kind of made him pause. So what happened then is I mentioned that in the book he had laid out the whole idea of sustainable energy and everything else, and how he had made Puma a sustainable company. And later on, I think in 2018 or 2019, he and Richard Branson founded an organization called Plan B. B means better, and it is to help major companies do an accounting of their environmental damage so that they can become better stewards of the environment. And I said, it took you, I said, you had the plan over 10 years ago. Why did it take you 10 years to get that far? And he said, well, it took me a while to communicate it properly. And so what I said, you're not I said, that puts you behind 10 years, and you're not communicating the LiveWire One properly, and that's going to put you behind too. So anyway, he's kind of looking a little bit stunned. I don't think he's used to being pushed on that hard. I'm not sure. But then I said, okay, I said, let's shift gears. I know from reading the book that you read Carl Jung. Carl Jung is a philosopher, I think from Switzerland. He's very well known, studied under Freud, everything else. But anyway, I said, Carl Jung wrote a book called A Man and His Symbols. I said, have you read the book? He says, yes, I've read the book. So what I did is we were standing next to a live wire. It was kind of outside, there were people around. So I started pointing to the live wire, pointing out the symbolisms on the live wire, the people that I think have been put in there on purpose. Like there's what's called a mandala, which is a round circle with things in it that mean things in a dream, that kind of thing. So I start walking around the live wire and I point to different parts of the bike and I say, there's prayer, there's profit, there's principles. And I said, because they're on a motorcycle, they're moving forward. And I said, do you agree? And he says, yes. So we spend a minute or so looking around the bike, looking at all the symbolism on the bike. And then what I basically do is, another thing you find out in the book is Zeitz is a art collector, and he buys art, and he even has his own museum of art, and he knows a lot about art. So I said, this bike is a work of art, isn't it? And he put his hand on the bike and he said, yes, it is. And I said, this bike is also cutting edge technology, isn't it? And he said, yes, it is. And I said, this bike has a purpose, doesn't it? He said, yes. And I said, so this bike is a fusion of art, technology, and purpose. The purpose being a safe, sustainable place. And he said, yeah. So then I got into it with a movie, and what happened is when they rolled out the LiveWire brand, they had a short 4 or 5 minute movie where some old guys wheel some older Harley Davidsons out on the desert. I think it was El Mirage Desert, and they're talking about the history of the company. And then a woman shows up with a live wire and she rides around and they're saying all kinds of stuff. And then she rides into the sunset like across the desert. And I said, Mr. Zeitz, I said, I think that movie was really a bad representation of LiveWire. And he said, why is that? And I said, because you cut the movie off and you didn't let people know where that woman was going on the bike. And he said, well, she was riding into the future. And I said, no, she was not riding into the future. I said she was on a journey to a safe and sustainable future, and the other guys on the bike can't follow her because they have gas bikes. And then I said, they're even trying to kill her so she can't make the journey. And you didn't talk about that. You didn't show it. And so he kind of smiled and said, well, we could have a sequel. But anyway, he got the point. Now, when I started pushing him on this stuff and talking to him about how he was not clearly communicating the real purpose of LiveWire, he started saying things like, well, we're going to be doing more of that, or we're going to talk more about that. And I said, well, like when? Like, what are you doing? You're not representing this thing properly. You're not being honest, and it hurts you in the rollout of Plan B, and it's going to hurt you with LiveWire. And he said, well, he said the time to do that was during the IPO, the public stock offering, in a month or so, because that'll really be a chance to talk about the real purpose of LiveWire and get everybody fired up during the launch. So anyway, I kind of said, well, okay, but I wanted him to know that I was disappointed in him for not being more clear on what was really going on and what he was really doing. So anyway, what happened next is we talked about the book. I had another paper bag with me, so I pulled out the paper bag, and in the paper bag I said, Mr. Zeitz, I brought a gift for you. And the reason the gift was in a paper bag is because I know he doesn't like plastic bags. So anyway, I'm going to talk about what the gift was after I do some more of my travels and show you what I gave Mr. Zeitz. Talk to you soon. All right, here I am in Gilroy, California. It's the middle of the night. But the good news is the weather's gotten good, and there's no wind, and it's easy riding and no traffic. So that part's nice. I actually could make it the rest of the way from this stop in Gilroy, but because it's late at night and I don't know all the chargers, or I'm kind of afraid of getting stuck with not much range, I'm going to make one more stop just to kind of top off, probably in Hayward. But it is cold out, and there is a problem with electric motorcycles. A new problem I found out, and that is they don't throw off heat when you're riding them to keep you warm. So it's kind of a chilly experience, and there's no plug on the LiveWire that I know of to plug in an electric vest. So maybe that's something that can be worked on in a future product, but we need to be able to plug in for a vest because the bike doesn't throw off any heat. But anyway, I'm in good spirits. It got a little tough because the wind for a lot of the trip, but now things have calmed down and feeling good, and hope to be in a hotel room soon. Okay, here we are, 20 miles away from the destination. We've got, I think, over 50%, 56%, so we're good to go. So I'm tired, 20 miles away. My son will be waiting for me. Can't wait. Okay, I got to San Francisco okay. I dropped the LiveWire off with my son, and I took the airplane, and I'm back today in Southern California. And I promised you all that I would tell you about my gift for Mr. Zeitz. So I've got a little presentation I'm going to show you guys what actually went down. So where we left off is I was talking about, I had got him to sign the book. We had a conversation, and I told him I had a gift for him. And I had the gift in a paper bag because he doesn't like plastic. And I told him I had a gift, and he looked a little bit surprised. And I took out the paper bag, and I pulled out a copy of this book. And the book is called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And I asked him if he had read it. And he said no, he hadn't, but he had heard of it. And I was kind of happy because he looked really pleased. He said that was very thoughtful, and I knew that he liked to read from reading his book, and so he, thought that was nice, and expressed, gratitude that I had gotten him a book to read. What he didn't realize, though, is that there was more to it than that. What I'd actually done is I had written some things inside the book for him. So if you look here, this is the inside cover of the book. So when you open up the book, what I had done is I had pasted in a picture of myself, my son, and my wife. That's Preston. And that's actually a picture taken of us in front of the Malibu LiveWire experience. So that picture was taken pretty much where Mr. Zeitz and I were standing at the time. And I made a inscription and posted it inside the book. And the inscription, if you see, there starts with a quote from his book. And I told him that this, I thought, was the most important quote in his book. He said, "Awakening this closeness to nature and spirituality in younger people is one of the biggest tasks of our time." From the Manager and the Monk. And I told him that I agreed with that. And I said when he wrote that, his son hadn't been born yet. He now has a 5-year-old son. I think he was born in 2017 or 18, so he's got a young son, and I said to him, I said, I bet that line has a lot more meaning for you now that you have your own little boy. And I think he was surprised that I knew that much about him personally, but hey, it's on the internet. And he kind of smiled and said, yes, it did mean more. So then I actually had an inscription beyond that in the book, and it says, Dear Mr. Zeitz, our family truly appreciates the hard work being done at LiveWire to create an exciting and sustainable future. My wife and I bought our son Preston a LiveWire One as a high school graduation present to take to college. The bike's fusion of art, technology, and purpose never failed to awaken him to the biggest tasks facing his generation. So taking those quotes from Zeitz's book. Our hope is that the example LiveWire is setting with its products and culture will continue to inspire Preston to push forward with urgency and resolve. You are obviously a voracious reader. We hope you enjoy this book and take special note of the text on page 297. And then it says, Godspeed. I'll scroll it up a little bit. Godspeed to you and your team at LiveWire. Now is time, the Reynolds family. So he was happy that I had put that in there, so that to show him that we appreciate what LiveWire is doing. But of course, then it comes down to, what is the text on page 297. So with him standing there, we're standing next to each other, he's looking over my shoulder, I open the book to page 297. And this is the text. And I told him that, it's a long book. I wasn't sure he's going to have time to read it. So I just wanted to highlight this because this is the most important part, I think, for him out of this book. So, this is page 297. I highlighted it. And the first part of the text says that I think that if we are going to reform the world and make it a better place to live in, the way to do it is not with talk about relationships of a political nature. Okay, so what the book is referring there is a top-down approach to get things done, like Plan B could be that kind of approach, or the Paris Climate Accord, or anything you do at a top level to make something happen. Even COVID mandates would be a top-down approach. Okay, so that's what he was doing with Plan B and going on other areas as well, kind of like an organized political thing to make changes in the world. But then it says down here, it says the place to improve the whole world is first in one's own heart and head and hands, and then work outward from there. Now I knew when I was saying that he was thinking about what he had written in his book, because it was very, very similar, almost word for word. And it says, other people can talk about how to expand the destiny of mankind. I just want to talk about how to fix a motorcycle. I think that what I have to say has more lasting value. Now, what that's saying is that you take a bottom-up approach. You change the hearts of men and women and get them to make the change because of something they believe in. Now, I told him, I said, I just want to talk about how to fix a motorcycle. I said, Mr. Zeitz, I said, that's written for you. I said, you are the one that fixed the motorcycle because you made it clean and sustainable. So I said, this book was written for you. And he kind of paused, and I kind of paused. And to be honest with you, I got kind of overwhelmed because I realized at that moment that was true, and I realized what was going to happen, and I realized that he was Phaedrus, and I need to go to a little bit of an explanation on that, but I realized that he was the guy, and that what he was doing was exactly the right thing to get to his mission, which was sustainable, or a safe and sustainable place. So let me explain to you a little bit about what's happening here. I made a little screen here to show you. Okay, Phaedrus. This is Phaedrus. He's the guy on the bike. His name is Robert Persing. He's the guy that wrote Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Now, what happened to him is incredibly tragic. He was a genius, a child prodigy. He studied mathematics, philosophy. He was absolute genius, and he was a professor at the University of Chicago, teaching basically how to achieve quality, that kind of thing. It's not important, but he was a teacher there. And what happened is he started having mental problems. He started getting depressed and not being able to function. And I don't know if you know much about what they did for mental health in the 1950s and 60s, but basically this is what they did. This is called a shock treatment machine, and this one puts over 1,000 volts on your head, and it shocks you, and scrambles your brain basically. And what happened is they did this to him right around 1963. So he was having mental problems. They take him, they zap him. This is a picture of what it looks like when they do it. They put the things on the side of your head and they just shock you. And they shocked him with over 1,000 volts. And he died. The person that he was died, and when he woke up, he was somebody else that didn't have the intellect and didn't even have the memories of the person that was there before they shocked him. And as time went on, in the coming months and years, his mind started to come back, and he called the mind Phaedrus, or the mind called itself Phaedrus. So Phaedrus would come to him in his dreams. It was the part of his mind that was destroyed by the shock treatment, and it would tell him about what was important in life. And Phaedrus is actually the one that wrote, well, he wrote part of the book, but Phaedrus wrote this part. Phaedrus was the one talking about what man is about, what the soul is about, etc. So this is what happened to him. He called himself Phaedrus, or the part of his mind afterwards. Now, Phaedrus is kind of interesting because Phaedrus was a real person. If you look back, you can look into Wikipedia, but Phaedrus was a real person who was born 1444 BC, and he was a real person, and he was a philosopher, and he used to debate with Socrates. And Plato used to write about their debates. Now, stay with me, because the main thing that Phaedrus is known for is the chariot allegory. So what the chariot allegory is that there is a Phaedrus with two horses, a black horse and a white horse. And he's riding the horses, and the white horse is trying to take him to heaven, and the black horse is trying to take him to hell. And it's a struggle to try and get to the right place. So Phaedrus is struggling with these horses. He's going through time. He's trying to get to heaven and do the right thing. And in the process, he goes insane. And you can actually read about it there's lots of books about it. But here is a painting of a Phaedrus and his chariot. So there's a white horse and a black horse, and there's Phaedrus, and he is trying to navigate through life with a black and white horse. Now, this is basically what Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is. It's the story of Persig trying to go through life. So there he is, and he's going through life trying to figure things out with the black horse and the white horse and Phaedrus in his mind, and he's going through life. So anyway, how does that go back to Zeitz and LiveWire? Well, here's the LiveWire homepage. LiveWire is available in black or white. It's the only two colors available for the LiveWire One. So there you get the picture, there you get LiveWire. So you might say, well, yeah, that's kind of a push, that's not a lot of evidence. So anyway, let's go on to the rest of the website. Here's another part of the website. It says a bike with a pulse, okay? It's got the guy sitting on the horse. Now, if you take the time, and I hope you can hear this, and we push the button down here for the thing, let's see what it says.
The bike has a heartbeat, a haptic input to the rider. We wanted to make sure that we have that emotional connection from the motorcycle to the rider, and you do that through that vibration. You know, we looked at the powertrain, and we were able to do some very interesting things with it to make sure that the bike feels like it's alive when you're on it.
Okay, so what they're doing is they put the taptic feedback in the LiveWire One motorcycle to make it feel more alive, or to make it feel more like a horse. Now, if you're still not convinced about all of the tie-ins here, let me show you something else. I mentioned before that Zeitz is an art collector and he's got a museum. Well, it's actually bigger than that. There's the museum. It's in Cape Town, South Africa, and you know, it's a big deal. And Zeitz is actually one of the top 200 art collectors in the world, and this is his museum of contemporary art in Cape Town, South Africa. So it gets a little crazier. This is what you see when you go inside the museum. So it's horses. You can see here that they also have like the hold-up horses in the guy, and they're absolutely on a mission. I mean, they're going somewhere and they're doing something, and they're on horseback. So, you know, taking it a step past that, here's another one. This is one of the drawings in his gallery. And then the one that really caught me is this one. It says Zeitz hosts children's exhibition. So what he's got here is he's got a horse that he's using to indoctrinate children into art. So I mean, it's a giant rocking horse. So, you know, this guy is a serious player, and he's doing serious things. And I think it's amazing that this whole thing is going on. So, you know, getting back to the book and getting back to what it says, the tie-in is that the LiveWire is a grassroots way for people to get involved and go on the journey to a safe and sustainable future. Now, I want to, or safe and sustainable place. I want to mention one other thing. He keeps using this word safe and sustainable. People might think that he's talking about safe in terms of safety. He's really not. He's talking about safe in terms of safe from bigotry, safe from slavery, a safe supply chain. So what happened is he got into Puma when he was 29. He took it over. He started to understand the damage that they were doing to the environment. He saw the supply chains. He saw everything that was going wrong. So along with building the business, he also decided to, you know, take up this cause of safety and sustainability. So he went all the way through Puma and did it. He wrote the book, and he still couldn't get it done. So he went to Harley Davidson, which is, especially at the time, I think was the 5th top brand in the United States. He went there and he came in as a Trojan horse, wound up, started as chairman, wound up, or one of the chair people, wound up as president, and now he's doing what he really wants to do. He's changing the world and making a safe and sustainable place. And I don't know what to say. I mean, if I worked at Harley Davidson, I think I'd pick up the phone, call personnel, and ask to be transferred into LiveWire, because that's where it's going. And I think, you know, the biggest shoe dropped maybe 2 weeks ago when Germany has now, they were the holdout in the European Union that did not want to get rid of gas cars by 2035. And after everything that's gone on in Ukraine and everything, even Germany, we're talking Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, even they have decided that they can't go forward with gas vehicles. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Zeitz has worked very hard to get Harley and LiveWire to this place, and I think it's just incredible. And I wanted people to know what my views were on that, and I wanted to give Mr. Zeitz some positive reinforcement, let him know that our family really appreciated what he was doing. So that's it. Thanks. Bye-bye.